Hello, welcome to another edition of Talking Hope. Really pleased you can join us today. We have the amazing Ali Brown with us all the way from Northern Ireland, and he's going to be talking about all things well-being. He's not right here, it's a conversation I had on Zoom, and like lots of us over the last 18 months, we struggled with internet connection too. So please bear with us, but I promise you it's worth it. Ali has been journeying with the Wellbeing Journey in Northern Ireland for quite a few months now and has a really exciting story to share about its impact on his community. Enjoy. Ali, thanks so much for joining us this morning. You and I speak fairly regularly, from time to time at least, but nobody else will know you. So do you want to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about who you are and where you're from?
Sure. Thanks, Sammy, and good to talk to you again. Yes, my name is Ali Brown. I'm one of two pastors in a church located in a little town called Ballynahinch. It's a town of about 5,000 people, about 10 miles south of Belfast in the country. My remit, as well as teaching, would be associated with connecting with the community, reaching out into the community in all the various different forms. So that's kind of a brief summary of what I do.
And when you and I have spoken, Ali, it's often been about the Wellbeing Journey, which is something you've been using for quite a while now over there in Northern Ireland. Can you tell us about your journey with the Wellbeing Journey?
Sure, happy to do that. We started with the Wellbeing Journey a while back, and we decided to pilot it with a group of people that we got to know through kind of a number of different ways. A number of people have joined us or got connected to us through CAP Life Skills course. We have a CAP Life Skills Centre. People that have kind of got to know each other a little bit through various different ways, such as those. And so we decided to pilot the course with that group of people. And so probably about a dozen people participated in that course from a wide variety of backgrounds. We had people who were retired, people who were unemployed, full-time mom, part-time nurses, teacher, childcare worker, and so forth. So there was a really broad mix of people involved in the course from a variety of backgrounds, from strong faith to absolutely no faith, but certainly searching for faith, I would say.
And how did they find the course, and how did you find running it with such a variety of people on it?
That's a good question. I would say the fact that there was such a broad mix of people was the strength of the course. They brought such a diversity to the conversation, and the breadth of experience really enriched the course, I would say. For example, when it came to issues to do with, for example, mental health, there were so many that had struggled with issues in life that they were able to bring that to the conversation. So the very fact that everybody was participating in the course really made the course so much richer. So that was very much a strength of the course, the fact that there was such a breadth of people of faith backgrounds and life experience. Nobody came it as an expert, and those that were hosting it and those that were participating, there was no difference. We were all bringing to the table our own experiences and our own questions. That I think was probably one of the highlights for me of the course.
You said you were bringing your own questions to the course. I know one of the things that we've talked about is how the course doesn't have a lot of answers. There's not answers off the shelf. It raises questions, and that's something you found helpful. Do you want to say any more about that?
Yeah, I think I'm glad you mentioned that. That's very true. My experience of the course was that it did raise lots of questions rather than providing succinct, complete answers. But actually the questions were really helpful because it causes us to think a little bit more about some of the issues at hand. So for example, there were things that maybe we hadn't even thought of before, but the questions were causing us to personally think more and challenge ourselves more into our own personal well-being. And so the fact that nobody was coming with expectations, it lowered the the stress and pressure of being involved, that we were all kind of just bringing life experience to it. But the fact that all of us were open to listening to each other and asking questions of each other, I think really provided a richness to the conversation. Us all to do was rethink some of the things that we maybe hadn't thought about much. We'd let them slide or let them slip. But the very fact that that was bringing that to the table, bringing it on our horizon, was something that caused us to rethink again. And I suppose that in turn then challenged, each of us had various different challenges. So regardless of where or which particular subject, some maybe were more challenged in the area of physical, and some people more in the area of emotional, and some in the area of spiritual well-being. So there was a whole idea that each of us came to the table, and accountability within the group, because each week we would each of us would maybe decide on something that we want to be held accountable to the group in the subsequent weeks. I guess the challenge of that is there's just so much in 1 week. And we would have loved to have more time, and that's something we're thinking through about how we design the course as we go forward. There's a lot of flexibility in the course, but that whole idea of processing and what do you do with all this stuff? And then next week, all of a sudden, we're going into a brand new area. And so I would suspect that a lot of the people who participated in the last course will want to come again. They've actually said that to me, because maybe they've had time to think about some of the challenges and process some of that, so they can bring that into the conversation and maybe bring away further challenges in the future.
And that was one of the things we've also spoken about, isn't it, Ali, that the group forms, and because of the nature of what they're talking about, they get quite close and then they don't want to leave at the end. And so you've been having to think about how to follow up wellbeing, and whether to do alpha next, or yes, whether they come back and do wellbeing again. Do you want to say anything about those group dynamics and kind of what happened at the end and what they're going to do next?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the course gives you a vehicle for community, I would say. And so their friendships are formed because we have got a routine where we come every week, and we participate every week, and we share life together every week. So friendships are inevitably formed as a result of that. And so at the end of the course, there's this sort of sense of, is that it? Where do we go from this? Do we stop being friends? And the obvious answer to that for everybody was no, absolutely not. And so out of that course, this little group formed and gave themselves their own name. They call themselves Soul Survivors. And they're still meeting as a separate, broad mix of people, with a mutual respect and friendship with each other. But out of the course, as well as the fact that people came to the course as a result of participating in something like CAP Life Skills or Alpha, what we decided this time around was this would be a really good platform to launch Alpha next time around. It's a couple of weeks' time. So we're starting the marketing of that. What we discovered was the idea of doing Alpha after the Wellbeing course. We're still working through all this, but we think it's a good idea, because for some people, inviting a friend along to something like Alpha is quite a big step. But actually inviting a friend along to something like Wellbeing is less intimidating, and for some people, it feels less of a social cost. I'm not wanting to minimize the call of each of us to share our faith with friends and neighbours, but the idea of participating in Wellbeing course, and then potentially for those that want to, as a result of this friendship, moving on to Alpha, was something we thought was very appealing. And so we're running this 8-week course starting at the beginning of November this time. But the idea at the end of this is those that would like to, we're going to start another online course on Alpha in January. Also, we're offering a new CAP Life Skills course in person. So we're kind of, for those that want to tease out some of these things more practically, they can come in person in a particular format in a particular place. And for others who are comfortable with the online environment and are maybe uncomfortable with coming in person as yet, but have enjoyed the experience of watching experts online and talking about things and then discussing it in small groups, they've got the option of Alpha. So we're kind of excited about that, because we're hoping that'll bring a further broad mix of people right into the community. I suppose the other thing is, what I like about Wellbeing is we like to, when we're going into the community, I think it's important to be able to say to folk, there's more than one agenda here. We care about the community, and the idea of discussing and facilitating conversation around well-being is something that's very appealing to many people at this point in time. And there's a sense of loneliness and isolation that's been evident coming out of COVID. And so all of these things, it seemed that the timing was really right, and the invites were easier for people to offer to their friends and neighbours. So there's a wide mix of people hopefully coming to the course through social media contacts, but ideally through people inviting their friends and coming along and trying the course for themselves.
I love that you've almost come full circle, because you started off with a group of people on Wellbeing, some of whom who had come from the CAP course. They've done Wellbeing, they've really got to know each other as a group, the people from the CAP course and others, called themselves soul survivors. That's how kind of knitted together they are. And then they've gone on, some of them, to do Alpha. And now you're back to the beginning and you're thinking of doing the CAP Money course as well. And I think you're so right. It's not about Alpha or Wellbeing, is it? It's about understanding our context and just those, making those steps to faith as low and accessible as possible. There was one more story I wanted you to share with us, Ali. You talked a lot there about community and well-being in the context of your community. Tell us about the solicitor in your community and how they've got involved with well-being.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. I was having a conversation with a solicitor about a particular family in a very complex, broken relationship environment. And when they heard of the idea of a well-being course for their client to be involved in it, I guess strategically it was good for them to be involved in something to show their life on the right tracks. And so that was where the conversation started. But the more I talked to them about what was involved in the wellbeing course, they were saying to me, look, see, the next time you run this, I really want you to send me information, because I have so many clients that I would love to tell them about this course so that they can come along to it. So that was something that I'm quite excited about, and I'm sending information obviously on to them about the start dates of the new course. But equally, there are community social workers that are interested in this, because they're seeing people who are experiencing isolation at the moment. And the idea of having something, let's say as it is, for free, but that is worthwhile and is helping mental, emotional, physical well-being, is very appealing to the statutory organisations around. But certainly that local solicitor was very interested and wants to pass on this information to a number of her clients.
Thank you, Ali. That's brilliant, because I know it's been taken up by hospitals and GP surgeries, but your story is the first time that I've heard of a solicitor. And you're right, it's because well-being, it's just so timely, isn't it? It's for such a time as this moment, when we talk about well-being after the last 18 months we've all been through, there's an open door. People understand why we're talking about well-being. I'm going to say thank you and goodbye. I'm not going to stretch this internet connection any longer.
Hope you enjoyed that. I think it's a really inspiring story what Ali's doing with Wellbeing in Northern Ireland. If you want to check out the resources, you can find them in our shop, hopetogether/shop. Remember, we've also got a whole website dedicated to the Wellbeing journey. I know for me, one of the things I'm going to be doing this Christmas in my church is, instead of jumping straight to inviting people to Alpha, I'm going to be doing the Wellbeing journey in January and then stepping on to Alpha from there. Wonder what you're going to be doing in yours. Why don't you let us know? We always love to hear your stories and feedback. But thanks for joining us. Take care and God bless.